So recently I moved to a new country and obviously had to look for a new motorcycle, because rotting in traffic before and after work is not my cup of tea, if trying to explain it softly. If I would be you, I'd say that it's starting to look like I'm sponsored by CFmoto, because out of 7 motorcycles that I own, 3 of them was from CFmoto brand, including the one I will review today. If being precise, CFmoto CLC 450 bobber. Wait. I thought you already had this one before. Some of you may probably think. And you're almost right to think this way. Yes, I had CLC 450 before, which was actually the one that kickstarted the whole idea of doing the reviews the way I'm doing them, but it was a cruiser version. The one I have now is CLC 450 Bobber Edition. Obviously, unwillingly or willingly, I will be comparing these two, but the main goal stays the same. And if you are new here, well, my name is Jamil. I'm not a mechanic, engineer, or I don't have garage where I build hardly from scratch. I'm just a simple mortal who reviews motorcycle and tries to list all the positives, negatives, and neutrals that I observed, experienced, or heard from the owners of the bikes I'm reviewing. All of this to help you to make your choice. And hey, you are absolutely free to choose what is the real positive and what is the real negative for you and the way you plan to use this bike. As per tradition of this channel, I'll start with the negatives. I will start by pointing on combination of multiple negatives, all related to the key. And the first one, exactly the same as it was on the cruiser version, is the separate lock situation on these bikes. Let me explain. Either because of laziness or some other unknown to me reasons, the engineers of recently released motorcycles are separating the ignition lock from the lock of the front wheel, sometimes even putting it on the opposite side of the motorcycle. Luckily, here it's on the same side, but still 2 different locks. Super confusing and quite annoying when you start the bike and realize that you forgot to unlock the front wheel, so you have to turn off the bike, take the key out, put it into the separate lock, unlock it, and then again start the bike by returning the key to the ignition lock. This one is especially annoying when you're in a rush, and I'm pretty sure those who own motorcycles with the similar locking mechanism will understand that feeling when you're in a rush and just want to hop on your machine, start it and ride it. But no, now there are some extra steps for you to follow because of this key situation. Another one, which some people say is a classic cruiser thing, is having the key on the side. Well, is it also a classic one for bobbers? I mean, is this looking unusual when compared to majority of other motorcycles? Most probably yes. Is it going to snap if you fall, leaving you with the key snapped in half with another half inside the ignition lock? Most probably also yes. Yes, you have 2 options, where first will be installing ugly crash bars, which in my opinion kills the look of any bike, or choose the side where you crash, though I think choosing is not something that is going to be under your control when you're about to fall. Either way, although many disagreed with me in previous reviews when it comes to this point, many also agreed. Now, the next negative, same as the key situation, again follows me from the cruiser version, and that's finding the neutral. It's still not the best one, to be honest. Overall, the shifting works normal, but finding the neutral during the ride or when stationary at the traffic light is not that easy. I mean, I think it's been almost 5 months that I got this motorcycle, and still to this day I rarely find the neutral when I need it. Honestly, in many times I just give up and don't even bother finding it. So I just squeeze the clutch and wait on the first gear. Can it be adjusted in the dealership? Maybe, not sure. You better ask if you have the same problem. But 2 nearly identical bikes from the same company having the same trouble, well, at least for me as the user, it's a negative. Unless you tell me in the comment section that it's battery smooth for you and I'm just not that good in switching gears. This negative from CLC 450 cruiser version is another one that keeps following me. And this time it's a screen. It's still the same fancy looking digital screen with 0 customization to it. Yes, you can change some basic info on the very bottom, but other than that, it's just fancy piece of technology that only looks fancy with nearly nothing behind its fanciness. I may sound a bit harsh for the small for many negative, but the reason for it is that in 2024, when I reviewed CLC 450 cruiser version with the same exact dash, at the end of complaining about lack of customization, I said this.
Not a huge deal breaker for me, but I really hope they can give us more flexibility with future updates. I really hope there are future updates.
Well, 2 years later, safe to say that there will be no updates. So quite deservable frustration, if you agree. You can also install a T-Box, which is a device that connects to the system of the motorcycle, and from what I saw on the internet, it actually eliminates this negative by showing you live GPS tracking, journey logging, vehicle status monitoring, fault alerts, OTA updates, a digital key where you can unlock and start your vehicle using just your phone, geofence where you can set a virtual boundary for your vehicle so you can get an alert if it leaves that area without permission. I even saw a picture in one of the Facebook groups showing the screen with the map opened on it. And you would agree that this all sounds and looks amazing. The only problem that it's not only additional device that you need to buy, but there is also a subscription you need to pay. And not sure about you, but I'm not a big fan paying subscription for a system on my motorcycle that I already paid quite significant amount of money. Next negative is also screen related and also comes from the CLC cruiser version. And that negative is the screen taking almost 10 seconds to turn on. I pointed this negative on the CLC cruiser version and I said that I don't know how it can affect the bike in the long run if you decide to start your bike immediately without waiting for the screen to turn on. And honestly, even though after owning these two almost identical bikes and finding out that you can actually turn it on without even waiting for the screen to light up, I still don't know how it can affect the system in the long run. Someone in the comments pointed out that yes, it's unusual if compared to other bikes that turn on quickly and also do system checks, but the reason CLC 450 is doing it because all the other bikes are faking the system check while CFmoto CLC is actually properly doing it. I tried to search the internet and find anything that would support this claim, but I failed. And that's why I would still keep it in the negative section, because I don't want to find out the hard way what happens if you constantly turn it on without waiting for this 10 seconds. Slightly below the screen, I found the next negative. I mean, not like it was not there on the Cruiser edition, but still. If you will get this bike, then probably this is where you will find it as well. Tank cap. Although it looks nice and has that satisfying click to it, which I complimented in my previous reviews, the main negative I have with it is that it is fully detachable, which means that you will need to find a place where to put it when you fill in the gas, take your wallet out, pay for it, or do any other activity where you will highly likely require both of your hands. I wish it was similar to bikes like Yamaha XSR 900, which I owned before, where you don't bother yourself with thinking about this. But it is what it is. And the solution to this negative, and the small tip for you, is to keep the key inside the cap, which will make it possible to make it rest between the handlebar and the clutch wires. Finally, the last two negatives are all related to the look of this bike. Honestly, for me it looks like both of these negatives are the result of some Lisa, who is also wife of head of design department in CFmoto, pushing her dumb ideas during the design brainstorming meetings. And the first one is something that I pointed out in CLC 450 Cruiser Negatives review. The jar-off piece. Well, it's actually brake oil reservoir, but if you are planning to give your piece for some tests in the hospital, then you can easily bring this thing, and I don't think nurses or doctors will notice anything wrong, because it will look like any other piece jar they use on the daily basis. Maybe it's Lisa again with her ideas on that brainstorming meeting, because she thought that the jar will look cute on this handlebar, and if yes, then probably she never saw the reservoirs on other bikes where they are nicely hidden in the black boxes like that, and the cutout for you to see the level or the color. The second negative related to the look, and the last one overall for the negative section of this bike, is the look of it. The bike looks cool overall, and I will come back to the look part in the positive section as well. But come on, Lisa, Really? Stickers? This is how you decided to complement the look of this bike? By slapping some stickers on it? What makes it weird is that if you choose to get the black version of this bike, then you don't get the stickers, and instead you get the logo cut out on both sides of the tank. I have no clue what inspired Lisa, but I must, and I want to believe that you will join me, that the bike lost at least 20% of its attractiveness with the stickers, while there are countless options and examples that could have been used to make this motorcycle an absolute no-brainer when it comes to how it looks. Well, what can I say? Thank you, Lisa, for ruining this, at least for me. Alright, that's it with the negative section, and if you think there are no more negative stuff to say about this motorcycle, then wait until you hear everything from the neutral section, because it is the one where it's totally up to you, where you want to include everything you will hear in this section. First one, which for a while I like to put in the neutral section of other bikes I reviewed, is the sound of the exhaust pipe. For me, it sounds pretty good for the size and look of this bike. For others, it might not. So here is the sound for you to choose whether it's a negative or a positive for your taste. So what do you think? Actually, I might change the exhaust pipe, and if you have some recommendations, I would appreciate if you can leave them in the comment section. Tank size is the next neutral, because although some people say it's small, I believe it all depends on the way you are trying to use this machine. And honestly, I think 12 liters for a bike like this is pretty good. I believe as a weekend type of rider, it will not bother you at all. And honestly, it never bothers me as someone who uses this bike for daily rides. Though where I'm currently right, they have gas stations every 5 kilometers or less. So it all depends where you live and how annoyed you are getting from filling up the gas tank. Again, in the neutral section for a reason, so for you to choose. Price is the one I always prefer to keep here, because for some around 5,500 to 6,700 USD for a brand new bike, depending where you are, may be super cheap, and for others, even look of this bike will not justify the price they're asking. Actually, it would be nice to hear your thoughts about the price in the comment section. Last neutral I'm going to include is something that some people asked me to comment about in one of my previous videos, where I introduced everyone this motorcycle as my new bike and asked them to leave the comments of what exactly they would like to hear in the review about it. And I believe there was at least 5 people who asked me about suspension. Well, whether you were interested in it or not, this is where you found it, in the neutral section. Why, you may ask? Well, because for me, it feels great. I mean, as great as I believe the motorcycle can feel on the bumpy surface, like this one, for example. For others who complain about nearly everything in their life, even gliding through air will not be something that will budge the level of their satisfaction. Also, the way I train every single day and the way my body is structured because of all that training is probably affecting how I react to this suspension, which I strongly believe would be way different for 90% of people watching this, if not more. Now, if for some reason you are still here, it means that you either turned on this video while taking a shower and now your hands are too wet to turn it off, or you're really interested in this bike. And if it's the second option, then I believe you will enjoy that part, because we are moving to the positive section of CFmoto CLC 450 Bobber Edition. And the first one I will put here is probably something that you would want to hear about a motorcycle that you're considering to buy: reliability. You may think that me spending 5 months with this bike and then 6 months with the Cruiser Edition does not make me qualified to talk about reliability. But I would disagree with you here because, again, I will remind you that regardless of weather or whatever, I use these machines every single day. And you should know that anything anyone is using on the daily basis will show its true colors pretty soon. than those things that are being used just a couple of times every 1 or 2 weeks. Well, how do I actually define the reliability of the bike? Obviously, there are multiple ways people use to define that, but for me, a simple guy who uses these machines as the main transportation method, the definition lies with how many times I have to visit the repair shop or dealership because something fell off or something is not working the way it should, or how many times I have to call someone to come and get me from the middle of the highway because my motorcycle broke down. And same as with everything else in all my videos, I'll be honest with you here as well. Oil and brake pads change. That's it. Apart from the oil change and brake pad change that I'm guilty of overusing sometimes, I never had the need to visit the repair shop or the dealership to fix something. That's my personal experience, and I would like to hear from other owners as well, but if you are still in doubt, let me tell you this. I'm not sponsored by anyone. Every bike that I bought was bought with the hard-earned money, including this one. So why, after having a similar motorcycle from the exact same brand 2 years ago, I would buy one again from the exact same company and a lot of similarities when it comes to the build? Well, because it's reliable. It never failed me in the past and it never did so far. And because I'm not a rich guy, I do research on everything that costs more than $5. And from my research, this motorcycle was the best option I could have got in Saudi Arabia, where, by the way, they have pretty good selection of second-hand bikes. But I just didn't want to risk it. So getting brand new motorcycle from CFmoto was the better choice in my opinion. Actually, I made a short video to show how I start this bike after 1 month of being away from it, and this is how it turned out.
Okay, it's been 1 month since, like slightly more than 1 month. I moved to another city within Saudi Arabia, and I have to leave my bike in this garage. As you can see, it's super dusty, and we'll see how the ignition works, how it turns on from the first try, if it works from the first try. I usually don't start the bike here because of the noise, and I just don't want to get any complaints from the neighbors, so I usually just take it from here to there just by walking, and then I start it right at the exit from the garage. Yeah, that thing is super dusty. Oh shit, why did I do that? Okay. So, let's see. I think people call it cold start. And 1, 2, 3.
By the way, I did the same with the Cruiser after leaving it 3 days in the open air under pretty low temperatures, as you can tell from the snow surrounding it, and this is how it turned out.
It's going to be a real cold start because this bike spent 3 long days under the rain, under the snow, and quite extreme weather. And let's see how it goes. Well, better than I expected, so good job, CFmoto.
Anyways, I believe reliability deserves to be in the section and on the first place. Next positive I will put here, which you should care about in any moving machine you're considering to buy: brakes. It uses G1 braking components. The front is equipped with a 320mm single disc clamped by a 4-piston radial caliper, while the rear features a 220mm disc, blah 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 blah. I don't care. I honestly don't care about the brand, features, or whatever that is listed on the spec sheet. Can it actually stop? Can it actually save me when I need the brakes to save me? Actually, one of the reasons it's easy for me to include brakes of this motorcycle in the positive section is where I use them. I'm currently in Saudi Arabia, where, for those who don't know, having reliable brakes is not something optional. It's a must. I cannot be thankful enough because I'm able to write the script, film and edit this review because these brakes worked as they should when I needed them. And now you can watch this review instead of commenting RIP on my last videos. It also has ABS, which I wish I had on my second motorcycle to avoid what you can see on the screen, and traction control system, which saved me previously on my Cruiser edition when my tire got flat without me noticing it. Now the next positive I will mention here is something that I was asked to comment on in my previous videos. Sit out this bike. Is it comfortable? Well, we are in the positive section, so yes, it is. I mean, it's a bobber, and I would be furious if one and only seat on this bike would be uncomfortable. Though there are bobbers out there who manage to mess up with this as well, but not CLC. I like the seats. That's my first ever bobber, and I have no complaints after riding it for 5 months every single day. Not every road I use is buttery smooth, but even with that, I believe it's quite comfy. Though I will remind you again that I train every day and my body structure is probably helping me with comfortability as well. Moving to another positive, located lower than the seat level. Just a few years ago I would probably say the chain, but not now, and not with this bike, because there is no chain. Instead you will find the belt, which I will include in the positive section, because it requires less maintenance than the classic chain, which for someone who is not part-time mechanic is pretty nice. Some people also report a bit of a positive changes in speed as well with the belt drives compared to the chain drive on the same motorcycle. Actually, the reason why I decided to put it in the positive section is because I always thought that rubber belt is cheaper than the chain. But thanks to the comment from the stranger, it turns out they're actually a bit more expensive than the chain, since there is a mix of composite materials such as Kevlar and rubber. Thank you, stranger, and another reason to have this as a positive. Speed is another I would put in the positive section, simply because majority of the times whenever I need to ride to work, gym or back home, I use highways. And especially in Saudi Arabia, if you are not fast enough, you probably should not be occupying the very left or middle lanes of it. And honestly, so far, I never felt uncomfortable with the speed that this machine can produce. And although the spec sheet says it can go up to 160 kilometers per hour, roughly 100 miles per hour for my American friends, I believe having the same exact 450cc engine from CLC 450 Cruiser edition, which is 5 kilos heavier, will make the bobber version slightly more faster than its Cruiser brother. Very quick one related to sudden stalling that happened to me on the Cruiser version that some people were interested about in the comment section. If this happens here or not, well, the answer is no. And I'm not sure if it's because there was a real issue that got solved in this 2026 bobber edition, or I just started to feel this bike more than I was feeling it on the Cruiser version. Yes, if you were interested in this, now you know. Another quick positive is going to be auto stop when the kickstand is out. So basically, if you try to start the bike and your kickstand is out, the system will basically not allow you to do so, which, trust me, is a very significant positive for those who are starting their motorcycle journey or for whom this is going to be second or even third bike. For those who don't know, you can literally jump and crash on the bike where this feature is not available. The size of this motorcycle, at least for me, is another positive. One of the key criteria for me when choosing bikes is the maneuverability in the heavy traffic. I don't need an extremely bulky machine that looks cool but makes me stay in the traffic with everyone else, especially here in Saudi Arabia where temperature rarely goes below 40-45 degrees Celsius. I need something that can free me from this, and I can easily complement this bike for that. It was quite easy to learn and feel the dimensions of this bike, which made me kind of a pro in avoiding the heavy traffic. So at least for me, this is something that easily can be included in the positive section. Look of this bike is going to be the last positive that I will put in this review. And despite Lisa messing it up with the stickers, overall the bike looks great. Something that will and does turn heads. The bulkiness of tires, the sound, compactness and simplicity all work in tandem to make this bike look good. Except that ugly stickers, of course. Actually, I'm thinking to make this my first bike that I will be customizing, probably by adding Nobu tires, maybe some paint on them as well, changing the exhaust pipe for something even better sounding, and obviously fixing the mistake of Lisa by painting the gas tank and adding some design element to it. I would actually love to hear any suggestions, if you have, in the comment section, since I have zero experience in customizing the looks of the bike. And that's all the positives, neutrals and negatives I managed to observe, experience and find for you, which hopefully will help you to make your decision. I won't beg you for likes and subscribe to my channel, but I won't complain either if you decide to do so, especially knowing that I'm not sponsored and do these videos to help random strangers on the internet. Thank you and see you somewhere else.